Hi everybody, today we're gonna look at another one of those MotorMax Forgotten Classics vehicles. And remember, the Forgotten Classics are different than the Timeless Legends in the sense that the Timeless Legends are really cool cars and the Forgotten Classics are cars that only some of us think are cool. Cars like Chevy Vegas, Ford Mavericks, AMC Gremlins, Mercury Comets, and other than the name, Forgotten Classics, these are the same as the Timeless Legends. The boxes even look very similar. It's a 1974 Ford Pinto in orange, 1/24th scale, and, it's a Pinto. It's about 7.5 inches long, and I mention that because I get a lot of people leaving comments saying, how long is it? So it's 7.5 inches long. So this is orange with a white roof. And for those of you keeping score at home, the Ford Pinto is essentially the same thing as the Mercury Bobcat. The Ford Pinto is comparable in size to the Chevy Vega, the AMC Gremlin, and pretty much the Ford Maverick. Notice I said pretty much. So I have never owned a Pinto, though I do have a long history with the Ford Pinto. Growing up, I've had several friends or friends' parents who've had Pinto wagons. I do like those wagons for their size, but I've never owned a Pinto wagon. I've owned the Nissan wagon, the Datsun wagon, and I've owned some Toyota station wagons. And I had a buddy who was looking all over for that Ford Pinto cruising wagon. That's the one with that little window in the back instead of all the windows. He did find one, but I don't know if he ever got it running. Alright, so here's my big story about the Ford Pinto. So when I was in the first grade, so what is that, 6.5, 7 years old, our family traveled cross-country in a Ford Pinto. It wasn't a Pinto wagon, it wasn't a Pinto hatchback, it was that other Pinto. Not only did we travel cross-country, and I mean East Coast to West Coast, which took us approximately a week, we traveled cross-country in a Pinto towing a U-Haul trailer. That's right, sports fans, back in the day, these small cars could actually tow trailers. Now, here's the rub. In this Pinto, there were 3 grown adults and 3 kids. Myself in 1st grade, my older sister in 4th grade, and my little sister, who was still in a car seat and really small. So yes, I spent a lot of time traveling cross-country in a Ford Pinto, sitting on the floor of the back seat, or up above the seats looking out the rear window. As I said, I've never owned a Pinto, but I have a long history with them. So back to this one. On this vehicle here, like all of them, the doors open, there's plenty of detail inside. The hood opens. Now there are some of the vehicles in the 1/24 scale made by certain manufacturers, including MotorMax, that the hoods do not open. Sadly, something that is very common with these 1/24 scale vehicles is the rear hatch or trunk does not open. We have found that you really need to go into the really old vehicles, and I don't mean old like they were made 20 years ago as diecasts. I mean like the 1950s vehicles, as we've seen with the Ford Thunderbirds and the Chevy Impalas, and the really old vehicles from the 40s. They not only have hoods that open, they also have trunks that open. And it's really disappointing to have a vehicle that's a hatchback and not be able to open that rear hatch. I have seen this vehicle come up for sale on Amazon every once in a while, but then when I went to purchase it, it was out of stock and I had to buy it at auction on eBay. I think I paid about $25 for it, and that was including shipping. And that is the approximate price I have seen it for on Amazon, since I believe it lists at $24.99. Currently, the Fairfield Collector's Catalog and their website is selling it for around $21, though I have no idea how much extra shipping is going to be. Either way, this is a pretty cool-looking old classic car. Yes, it's classic in a weird sort of way, but I can honestly say I have never seen one of these in this color scheme. And really, no lie, these things could have a car full of people and tow a trailer cross-country. And they're done that. Alright, what do you think? Cool or not cool? For you old-timers out there, well, this should stir up a few memories. For the younger crowd, this should get you thinking a little bit more about how the cars used to be here in America. Alright, leave your comments in the comment section. As always, thanks for watching.
Meister 22, the most dangerous man on YouTube.